Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to our Freelance Friday uh, session. We're going to talk today about skills that you may not even know you have and ways that you can work as an online freelancer, uh, doing work right from where you are, remote freelancing. This is doing work on your schedule, on your time frame. And I'm in a chilly Dallas today. I'm stopped off after being in Panama last week for the International Living Conference and on my way to Mexico over the weekend. So looking forward to getting back to some warm weather and out of the chill. So quite a bit of chill out there today. It was 81 degrees here a few days ago, but now quite a bit cooler. So, in talking about the things that you can do and the skills that are in demand, the skill that most people don't recognize they have, if they have this skill, is you're a native English speaker, and that is the most popular, uh, uh, language that people want. You have this situation where there's about 200 countries out there, and you have, you know, maybe a dozen in what we would call the English speaking world. Economically, the English speaking world is the biggest engine, if you add all those up, uh, in terms of economic activity, the amount of money that flows through those countries, people buying goods and services. And so many people outside, the other, 188 out of the 200 are always looking for ways to sell their products, services, to have trade relationships, to have any real estate relationships, whatever it might be, with the English speaking world. And one of the things that's very important when they have those relationships with the English speaking world is they need to take the materials that promote their products and services or advance their ideas or concepts, whatever it might be, into the English language in a way that causes it not to look like it's translated. There's the old saying, when in Rome, do as the Romans. And this is sort of the advertising extension of that, is when you're actually want to do business in an economic zone, whether it's a virtual zone or the country next door, you're going to have information that you're putting in the language of the people that you want to buy your product and services, or get involved in some activity that you might be involved in, or that kind of thing. So that's what we're doing. So English is, you'll see on Upwork from time to time a wide variety of English jobs that require the English language. So if you're new to this whole thing and you can't figure out what you could possibly do online, you can go in there and select keywords or keyword phrases like teach English, or just even the word English, and you will surface typically thousands of people that are looking for help with the English language in one way or another. The interesting thing that happens, of course, there's 1,000 jobs is too many to look at, several thousand, way too many to look at. But what you're able to do is to begin to get an idea of other key words that might lead you to English, using your English language skills. So one that we see that's very popular now is business managers, business executives that make regular trips to the English speaking world to talk to customers, present stuff to insiders. So we had one client that was working with one of our free member freelancers that was working with somebody from an automotive company in Japan, but this person had to fly to the United States and give a PowerPoint presentation every 90 days. to a group of Americans and Canadians, basically English speakers. And he wanted help just making sure his slide deck looked good, and he was using the correct idiomatic use of the language when he did that. And he also wanted to make sure his pronunciation was correct. So that meant that every 90 days for, 5 or 10 hours, this freelancer would help coach this person from Japan prior to giving their presentation in the United States. So that's just one example. The other one you have, very common, is business executives that want to teach or want to do business, travel to countries, or now a lot of Zoom has opened up a lot of opportunities. You don't necessarily have to travel to a country to have a meeting. So having people use their English language skills to teach somebody for whom English is not their first language how to communicate at the business level. And in every industry, in every sort of domain of endeavor, there's a certain subset of the English language that revolves around this. Now, the one that you may have heard of before, and this is common, many doctors in the United States take courses on medical Spanish because many of their patients speak only Spanish or don't speak English well, and they need to be able to communicate them. The list of medical terms is relatively narrow compared, obviously, to the entire English language, but knowing just a little bit, going through a certification for medical English helps bring them up to speed. But imagine you're in the pharmaceutical business or you're in the a manufacturing business of some kind. There are terms in manufacturing, there are terms that you might use in forming distribution relationships that you would want to have the person, this person wants to come up to speed on English. So that's another great example of where you can help somebody. Now, a third example I want to give you, and this is also an interesting one, is right now there are many people that for one reason or another are making application to one thing or another in the English world. An example would be a college, a university. It might be an application for a job they might be a foreign worker, but they're making an application to a U.S. company. So it has to be in English, that kind of thing. And so helping people fill out an application, and that's an amazing deal in terms of the volume of activity on that. Just simple stuff. Fill out an application, write a simple piece of correspondence, just lots of different things that have that kind of ability to just use your English there. And hi, Bronson, thanks for the like. When people pop the like button, I get a chance to see their names. Otherwise, you're just a number on the board. So if you want to shout out, I'm happy to do that. But I appreciate you stopping by and appreciate all our listeners to the recording on this. This is recorded and it'll be available for you later today. So in addition to filling out applications, there was one of our members was actually working with college athletes from foreign countries that had won scholarships to United States colleges and universities. And in order to collect on their scholarship, they have to pass an English proficiency test just to make sure that they can do the coursework as they go to that college or university. And bringing people up to that speed, up to speed on that was exactly what that was all about. And this was training every week, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever it took to bring that person up to a level that they were able to pass that test. And good to see you, Tama. Welcome. Glad you stopped by. Thanks. So those are the, kind of the three big areas that you can use your English language skills. There's two more that I want to talk about. Another one is actually uh, Microsoft Office. Many of us have used Microsoft Office in our career. I want to say Microsoft Office and Microsoft Word and Excel and all that stuff came along about 30 years ago. And I know, funny enough, some baby boomers that never put their toe in that water, and that happens. And there's other things for those people. But if you did put your toe in that water and you did learn how to use Microsoft Word and you did learn how to use PowerPoint, which is a very easy program that we've had a lot of success with people that learn PowerPoint much later in life, but it's such an easy program to use that they quickly come up to speed on it. And then some of the other parts of it, Microsoft Excel, not as many people use that, but certainly if you were in accounting or financial, you used Excel. You lived in Excel. You turned on Excel in the morning and turned it on in the night or afternoon when you left. And so knowing how to use those programs are very powerful skill sets. And you don't have to be able to use them at the expert level. A lot of the work going through the various project networks is not expert level. They want to talk to somebody that knows actually how to use a spreadsheet that can help them figure out how to represent a problem or solve a problem, that kind of thing. So that's what that's all about. And then there's other parts of the Microsoft products. There's Publisher. I talked to a member that knows how to use Publisher, so that's great for creating flyers and brochures, whether they're on paper or on electronic. And so that whole idea of Microsoft Office, if whatever one you have any skill in, you can go into any one of these online freelance networks, and there's people looking for help creating documents on those in the Microsoft Office suite. So there's just, basically for many of us, decades of experience. I think I got into my first, let's see, what would it have been? In the early 90s was certainly using Microsoft Excel and Microsoft Word at that time. So, a lot of you have, 3 decades worth of experience using one or several of those products. So that's something that is also in demand. I'm surprised. I mean, this is a get off my lawn statement, but kids today, where I worked, it was just assumed you knew Microsoft products and you knew Excel and you knew Word, and when you showed up for the job, and maybe even PowerPoint, and a little bit past the, what would you say, the towards the end of the 90s, I mean, everybody was using PowerPoint. So it was just assumed. And now you would be surprised to know that not many people are trained on particularly PowerPoint and certainly Excel. So the third area I want to talk about is advice. And a lot of these networks are used for advice giving. There are situations where somebody doesn't know what they don't know. And when they don't know what they don't know, a lot of times they'll hire somebody on Upwork or Freelancer or Fiverr, and they'll say, I want to talk to you for an hour about, the automotive industry, and they typically further define it like, say, dealerships, retail dealerships in the Midwest. I'm doing a project and I just need to come up to speed on that topic, and I'd like to talk to you for an hour. After that hour, there may be more conversations. So if you think about anything that you give advice on, it could be something that you could give advice on. It could be something from the career that you're in or just retired from. It could be something from your lifestyle. I have a brother-in-law that played is played softball on various different leagues for various different decades. So, he knows a lot about that. So if somebody's considering playing softball, and they're in their 50s or 60s, he can tell you all about, what's good about it, what's bad about it, what to watch out for, what injuries you might be likely to have, how you can prevent those injuries and keep playing, that kind of stuff. If somebody wants to move to a different locale, there's advice giving on, hey, I want to move to Colombia. Can you help me? Give me some pointers. I'm thinking about moving to these 3 cities. That's a great place for freelance workers to pop on there. So, it would, what I'd like to do is get some idea of areas that you give advice. This could be from your career. It could be from your hobbies. It might be from anything from water skiing to camping or something like that. So just pop in the chat window anything that you might have that you have advice on. And let's see, I've got some comments here. There we go. And there's Tama. There's Bob. Welcome, Bob, from Roatan. Good to see you. And let's see. Here's a question coming in from Matthew. Okay, what you might get, expect to do Word or PowerPoints. I mean, they're typically, sometimes it's just put this transcription into a document form in Microsoft Word, and that might be $15 an hour. There are a lot of, or it might be an audio tape, it might be a transcription. And now with Microsoft, you can actually translate that, just play it into the Microsoft voice to text. And so you can do that very quickly. The more value you add to the project, and I'll use PowerPoints as an example. Somebody might give you a rough draft of, here's 10 slides I want. Please make these slides up and put in some pretty pictures and make all the fonts look nice and that kind of thing. And that you're probably going to earn $20 to $30 an hour. If they work for, construction materials company, and you work for a construction materials company, and they say, I need to come up with a presentation that has that we use for, in our sales activities for our clients, you might make $1,000 or $2,000 on that kind of project. That's out there, because you're not just bringing your knowledge of PowerPoint. The second piece of knowledge you're bringing is your understanding of the industry and the lingo. So you're able to use the terms and understand the terms, but maybe more importantly, you understand the strategy, because you were in that industry. You know how people think in that industry, and you know how in your time in that industry you've been able to explain things in a way that people in that industry understand it. So having the strategic knowledge of how to put that information together. And I mean, I've done that a number of times where somebody says, on the one hand, I've got 20 slides I want you to make up, no problem. The other one is, I want to get this idea across, and at the end of the presentation, I'd like people to sign up to help with so-and-so, or I'd like them to purchase our such and such service, or that kind of thing. And the more knowledge component and the more value you put into it, the more that really pays off. And then Bob certainly is a fabulous photographer, underwater photographer, and he does digital photography processing. So those are all skills. There, a lot of photographers in fact, myself included in the early days, was wondering if I could use Upwork to do photography. And what I find is that, a lot of photography is location dependent, like weddings, birthdays, religious celebrations, different things like that. And there are other freelance sites out there that are more focused on those for a location. We hired a photographer recently in St. Louis when we did a training session there, and he just drove in, did his work, gave us uh, uh, I think the SD card at the end. We got about 1,000 pictures, so probably a couple SD cards, and that was it. He didn't do any post processing to correcting colors or balancing the exposures. So but that's where the work lies for people that work remotely, is in doing, if you know how to use the product Lightroom, that is typically the product of choice for color correcting those. And we had one member that lived in Arkansas that worked with a photographer in New York, and a photographer makes the most money when they're shooting pictures. They don't make a lot of money sitting at their desk, relatively speaking, color correcting different photographs and cropping them and that kind of thing. So this photographer found a guy in Arkansas that he liked working with, and he just would be out shooting all day and send all those digital images to this guy, and the guy would color correct them and crop them and correct the exposures, which you can do very easily in Lightroom. You can do hundreds of photographs at a time that are in similar lighting situations. And, that was how he was able to use and really develop his photographic skills with Lightroom, doing that kind of work. So that's a good way to do that. And let's see. And then Tama says, certainly doing a blog and giving advice. Yes, in fact, many of the jobs that you see on sites like Upwork talk about are from people that own blogs. And when you own a blog, you have to feed the monster. You can't just put up a web page and let it set for months and years at a time and expect that to bring business to you. Somebody that owns a blog always wants to be attracting people to their business because they're providing new and good information. And so that's how that would work. And a lot of people say, hey, I want to start a blog. Well, there's a lot of research out that shows that well over 90% of people that start a blog never make the first dime in it. And they invest a lot of money in it, setting up websites and getting logos and doing photography and all the things you do when you set up a website. And basically the big difference between going to work on Upwork or setting up a website is when you set up on Upwork, it's like you're in the mall. There's lots of customers in there looking for help of one kind or another. When you set up a blog, it's like you're building a retail store in the desert. There's nothing around you. You have to attract all that traffic, and then you put up billboards, you give away free things, you have balloons, that kind of stuff. But that's the kind of lengths that you have to go to in order to attract traffic. And in my opinion, and you see far many retail stores in malls than you do in the desert, just like you see far many more freelancers easily getting clients rather than struggling to get clients and get people into their store. So that giving advice, there's this phrase, why don't you as a freelancer go to school on somebody who is successful with this? Find somebody. We had a guy who was a freelancer. He was nuts for baseball cards. He loved everything about baseball cards. He'd been collecting them since he was a kid. And he thought about having a blog, but he didn't know anything about it. And I suggested he see if he could find a blog to write articles for, maybe do blog postings for, maybe do research for, that was in that field. And sure enough, he went into Upwork and typed in the word baseball, and there were lots of jobs. Most of them, 80-20 rule, were not for him. They were like design a logo or build a website. That's not what he did. He wanted to learn how to write blog postings. He wanted to learn how to write articles for blogs. And, he was just delighted to be working, doing this kind of stuff in his favorite hobby. And so you do that for 6 months or a year, and you get to see how a blog operates from the inside. You get to see how they earn money. You get to see where they get their clients from, and what kind of things they talk to their clients about. So that's a much better way of doing that, in my mind, where you're getting paid to help somebody versus you having to pay somebody to develop a website and all the develop a logo and all the other things you have to do as you get started, and setting up your hosting. And most baby boomers and 50 plus are not experts at setting up websites and that kind of thing. So the whole idea is to spend more time in your happy place. And his happy place was talking about baseball cards, thinking about baseball cards, finding new facts about baseball cards. And so that's how he did that. So good. That's three great examples there that led me in that direction. So today is a moving day for some of my stuff. So I'm going to scamper out of here and go get that taken care of. And next week at this time, I'll, fingers crossed, I'm back comfortably in Mexico and enjoying all that lovely warm weather down there. So look forward to seeing you in a week, or seeing you on our Tuesday night call, or any other time. If you're in any of our programs, there's various activities going on during the week. So thanks for stopping by. Thanks for all those that are watching the recording. If you have a comment or a question, be sure and put that in there, and we'll put that up. So and thanks, Matt, for your comments. Always appreciate those nice comments. And for those of you that are so moved, if you want to put a like or a love on the way out, we always appreciate those. That helps get our message out to more folks. And also Tama, thank you. Very good. And there we go. Okay. Take care. See you soon.